Hardworking husband who gave up everything for his family discovers wife's 2-year affair and kicks her out without a second thought. Guys, welcome back to Alpha Talk. So for today, I'm going to give you a story titled, I Cheated, Now My Life is Destroyed. And guys, this story is written by a woman, and she tells her whole story about how ultimately she ends up cheating on her husband because basically for the entire time that they were married, she has resented him because she got pregnant when she was 17, and they decided to keep the baby and get married at like 18 years old, I guess. And she missed her entire childhood, the college years, and the freedom, and the partying, and riding the carousel, use your imagination, sleeping around with multiple men. She resented him the whole time because she missed out on that, even though it takes two to tango. And you're going to see here the way she writes this about the way she was thinking, what she was feeling, and justifying her actions, and ultimately, after lots of years of resenting him, ends up having an affair. And when he finds out, he kicks her ass out. That's it. And this whole thing is about her basically trying to have a pity party and get people to feel bad for her. And how can she get her husband back and get her children back in her life? And all that stuff, And I'm doing this, guys, because there's a whole bunch of things I want to highlight here in this particular story to point out here certain lessons here. One of the big ones deals with accountability, okay? You're going to see through this whole thing how she talks about how she blames him for the LA loss of her freedom and all that, even though, guess what? It takes two to tango, okay? She's just as responsible as he was for her getting pregnant at such an early age, right? And she was just as responsible for obviously getting married at such an early age, okay? But she decides to blame him. And we all know the joke about women and accountability. Another lesson about this is about women and how they feel. Guys, I've mentioned this before in the videos, and I'm sure many have experienced this in varying degrees. Women run on emotion and their feelings. It's all about how they feel, okay? And even though that rationally in their head they're saying what they're doing is wrong, their feelings are used to justify the actions here. And a perfect example that is how many women do you know, maybe you've experienced this in your own life, where they are completely drawn to or attached to a guy that is completely wrong for them in every way. The bad boys, right? They know the guy is scum, they know the guy's going to treat them badly and all, but they're still attached. Meanwhile, they have plenty of opportunities with nice guys who would treat them well, and on paper and in their mind is great for them, but they just are drawn because their feelings for a different type of guy. That's what I'm talking about. It's all about how they feel, and this definitely reinforces it because she talks about this, how she feels and all that crap. Also, the lesson here is again what happens these stories when people get married way too young. And in her situation, both she and her boyfriend at the time who got her pregnant, she was 17. So they got married probably 17 or 18 years old, and that is a very old-fashioned way of handling things. That was the thing that happened back in the day. Okay, I had an aunt and uncle, which I found out later when I was an adult, that when they were dating, and I obviously wasn't born yet, this is like in the 1940s, she got pregnant, and it was expected that he married her because this is the 1940s, and that's how things were handled. And he married her because she was pregnant. And let's just say they weren't exactly in love even when I knew them later on in life, okay? But nowadays, that idea of doing that is, in my opinion, a mistake. Some people may disagree with me, that's your business, you're right. But these people getting together strictly because the girl gets pregnant is a huge mistake. What would have been better is if she would have just she had the kid, probably lived with the parents he supported. Of course, financially, because that's his kid if the paternity test said so, but that's it. But they get married and too young, and this is what happens when people miss out on having somewhat of a life when they're younger, okay? They end up regretting it, and they wonder all the what-ifs. Now, don't get me wrong here. Let me make this clear, okay? I think it's important that people obviously get to experience things, and there's the old expression, sowing your wild oats. You don't hear that very much anymore, but it was bigger back in the day. I think it's important on both sides of the equation, both guys and girls, but because I know people are going to comment about this and call me on here, there's a world of difference between having some experience and riding the carousel every guy in town. There's a big difference here. You get some experience, you get to have some fun, and then you're not going to have a lifetime of regret, okay? That's a big difference in riding the carousel every guy in town. And her situation immediately, the first love, first guy, she gets pregnant, that's that. And look what happens, okay? And the blaming him and all that crap that goes on. It's a mess. But anyhow, guys, you'll see more I'm talking about as I go through this story here. Starts off, this is going to be my first post here, although I'm a long-time lurker. This is going to be a long post, sorry in advance. And thanks to the ones to take the time to read and give me some advice. My husband and I were each other's first love. When I was 17, I got pregnant, and short after we got married. Big mistake. He could have been there for her. He could have provided, so long as in fact that was his kid. But getting married at that age, come on. Our life was difficult. Our families helped us taking care of our son. But while our friends were having fun and living a carefree life, we were dealing with the new acquired responsibilities as parents. We were not prepared for this, so right from the get-go, she made a point of saying our friends were having a fun, carefree life. This is what she wanted to have, but she couldn't have it because she chose to have the child and got married and all that. To make things even worse, a year and a half after I got pregnant for this, I got pregnant again for the second time. I was not even 20 years old when my second son was born. Okay, it happened the first time was bad enough. You both were kids, you didn't obviously use protection, but it happened a second time. You gotta be a couple of dumbasses to let this happen a second time, okay? Come on here, two to tango. Have you heard of condoms? Have you heard of birth control? Come on here, and you're complaining. She says my husband stopped studying and started business with the help of our parents, and I was left to take care of the two children on my own. My husband is a great father, but I have always been the one who had to stay at home, do all the chores and take care of the children while he was working 14 to 16 hours a day. He's doing what he has to do to provide for his family. That is very admirable, okay? He was a dumbass for letting this happen a second time with a kid, but he's doing his best, okay? And if it requires him to work that much to take care of you and the family, yeah, I appreciate that because there's a lot of guys that would just basically hit and run, and that'd be the end of it. She says he was working all those hours because we needed the money, and we could not afford paying someone to take care of the kids, but somehow I started to blame him for the situation. Well, it's not like he just snapped his fingers and made her pregnant, okay? She participated in it, so take some responsibility. Don't blame him for the fact of you lost your childhood and, not say childhood, but your last year, the free years of being a late teenager in your 20s in college and all that, okay? You're just as much to blame. He said year after year, or she says year after year, I built a big resentment inside me, and I blamed him for the loss of our youth and freedom. A rational part of me knew that I was wrong, but I ignored it. See, it was about how she felt. In her mind, the rational part of her said, basically it's not his fault, and he was doing what is best, but the emotions took over. And those are basically people, I've heard the sayings that people will, they'll make their decisions based on their emotions, or they'll use their rational side to back up those decisions. It's interesting. She says fast forward until 2 years ago, our marriage wasn't bad. We accepted that we had to work hard to give our two kids an opportunity in life, and we worked well as a team. My husband is a loving person. He and my two sons treat me like a queen of the house, and I felt loved and happy. Well, what happens, guys, when you treat a woman like a queen? What happens when they put on a pedestal? You would think it would be nice if you could have your girl and you really love her and treat her like that because you really love her and you think she's great. But unfortunately, as a lot of these stories go and a lot of people experiences, you treat someone too well, and it goes to their head, and they start getting an attitude and start actually looking down on you. It's crazy, but it happens, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. But I still had that feeling that I had missed out because I got pregnant so young, and I still blame my husband for it. I know that's unfair, but that's how I was feeling. Notice it keeps coming back to the word feel. Women have a emotion-based CPU, emotion operating system. They run on the feelings, and the feelings are always going to trump being rational every time. I was going to the gym 3 to 4 days a week, and during that time I'd become friends with an instructor. Before I knew it, we were hooking up. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I somehow justified ding myself because I didn't have any feelings for the guy. It was only sex, and it was a small compensation for all the experiences I'd missed out in my youth. How about the missed experiences that your husband missed out, right? But he's sticking around, and he's working 14 to 16-hour days providing for you and the family and doing the best he can. Your compensation, again, you were there. He didn't snap his fingers. He wasn't Thanos with a magic glove and the stones to make you suddenly pregnant. You were there too. You participated twice. Don't make him out to be the bad guy. I wanted to stop the affair every week, but the truth is I didn't stop till my husband found out 2 days ago. So she had this affair with the dude at the gym for 2 years. 2 years? I never expected my husband's reaction. He put some of my clothes in 2 bags and called my parents to come pick me up. When I arrived to him, my mother was crying and my father was completely red. My husband told me I was not welcome in my house anymore. I didn't have to ask why he was so angry. I knew immediately that he found out about my affair and that it would be best if I would go that night to sleep at my parents' house. I told him that I would give him time and space to calm down, and I would come back the next day to talk to him, and I left. Yeah, well, it doesn't exactly go as she hopes. My parents were very disappointed in me. They love my husband, and they respect him a lot for the way he's built his life into a proper, prosperous business, and a proper businessman, and a good father. Yeah, this guy, in spite of what happened when she was young, I'm sure they were pissed at him when she was 17. This guy did what he had to do to take care of her and the family. He's been a good father and provider. What else could a parent ask for? But she's doing this. Look, I get that obviously she missed out on the college and all that stuff. And she was unhappy about that. Okay, fine, but don't blame him for it, and certainly don't go out and have a 2-year theremin dude that's doing everything right, okay? Unless she's trying to sabotage. And I'm willing to bet you that had to be some part on some level. Well, if I sabotage this, then I can get out of this because he'll break up with me and I can be free, right? It's a possibility. My parents were very disappointed in me. They love my husband. I did this priority. She says they were in shock, but nevertheless, I'm their daughter. So they took me in with them and gave me some space to think things through. The next day in the morning, I went back home when my kids were at school and my husband was at work. He always comes home to take lunch at home, so I waited for him to come home. When he arrived, he looked like a man who'd been destroyed, and I think that was it. It was the first time that I realized about what I'd done and the terrible consequences for those that I love. This is the first time that this is computed with her. This is the first time she actually thought maybe this might really hurt and damage my marriage, my husband, my kids. In the 2 years that she was hooking up with the dude at the gym, I tried to explain to him how sorry I am, that I never stopped to love him. And my affair was not about him but about me, that I have issues. And I would like to go to individual counseling and marriage counseling. Every time it's always she cheats, has the affair with a short-term or long-term, and then she wants to go to the marriage counselor. Meanwhile, the guy's like, are you kidding me that, oh, you still love me, but even though you're boning the dude from the gym for 2 years? He sat and listened to all of what I had to say for around an hour without saying anything. At that point, he told me he doesn't want to go to marriage counseling or individual counseling, or do anything to try to work out of the marriage. He said that after what we both had to sacrifice, if after all what we have done, after what he has done for me, I still hated him to betray him, and he doesn't want to do anything, have anything to do with me anymore. There was a little mess up with the writing there, yeah. After all the sacrifices he made, after him busting his butt all those years, and when she could do it like that, he's done. That's it. This guy probably knows once a cheater, always a cheater. He's done, and you can't blame him in any way. I don't blame him. That's what I would do. I wouldn't be in this situation, but if I was, I know myself to know that's how I would handle it. You're out of there. Sayonara. I begged him to give me a second chance, and I explained him that our kids need both of their parents, and then he got crazy and started to scream. He told me if I was thinking about our kids' priorities while I was still having sex with the guy, and other many things I don't need to repeat here. I told him that I would come back later when he would be more calmed down to talk and to see my children, and I left. So she keeps having this idea that she can just go away and come back, and she'll be able to persuade him when he calms down, right? Well, it's not exactly working out that way, and I'm willing to bet you there was a part of her that truly I think wanted to get caught, but figured he'll take me no matter what because he treated her like a queen, just exactly what she said. Earlier, was the hardworking, reliable, nice guy. Look how he was treated. I came back 4 hours later finding out that my husband had already told my sons about my affair the day before, and they were very upset and didn't show any affection towards me. They were siding with their father. Now I don't know how old the boys are. She doesn't state her age, but I'm guessing probably they could be like in the low single digits or maybe the early teens, who the hell knows here, but old enough to obviously know what was going on. I don't know if I would tell the kids so quickly, but the guy was really pissed and this is his decision, so it is what it is. But anyhow, he tells the kids. He says I told my husband that he shouldn't have involved our children, and he told me I should have not gotten involved with the guy at the gym if I didn't like the aftermath of it. That my sons are old enough to know why we were getting a divorce, and it's also important because they can, at their age, choose with whom they want to stay. I didn't think about divorce until that moment, and when he said that I felt dizzy, and they had to help me because I started to see the huge consequences of what I have done. Oh, so just now she's starting to see the huge consequences now. She didn't see that 2 years earlier. Guys, again, back to the whole accountability thing, right? You heard the beginning because this is her writing. This wasn't a story with the dude writing it. This was her writing about her thoughts, her feelings, justifying all these things. She blamed him, and this was her way of getting something for what she missed out on, and meanwhile no thinking about the kids and the family and all that. My husband called my father again, and he came to pick me up. I wanted to stay, but neither my husband nor my children wanted me there. Well, good for the husband. And here I am at my parents'. I'm feeling alone and empty without my 3 men. I risked all what I care about for something that meant nothing to me. I've hurt my husband and companion and my 2 kids, and I still don't even understand why. Well, I understand why. You're selfish. I may lose everything as if I was in a self-destroying mission. See that I'm willing to bet you that was a big part of it. What would you do next? How can I win my husband and kids back? What can you say to someone who you've hurt so much? Will my children ever forgive me? Please give me some hope and advice. Well, not that it would happen, but if she was seeking me out and asking what my opinion was in the subject, and what I would suggest she would do. First of all, I'd say that, yeah, she was a selfish from blaming him all this time. I'd say again, you participated in the nookie. That's why you end up with child number 1, and that's why I end up with child number 2, okay? You made that decision, okay? Don't just blame him on it. You're just as equally guilty. And this guy's been busting his butt all these years doing what he can, and you're gonna blame him making me the bad guy. It would be bad enough if, in my opinion, if she went and cheated on him a couple times, and that was that. But the fact that the whole time you hear about her resenting him and hating on him for what happened in the state of her life, and all that she missed out upon that takes it to a new level. And of course, the fact that the affair went on for 2 years, that's a whole lot of hook it up behind her guy's back, and he thinks everything's okay. Not to mention the fact that what he may have potentially caught from her from the other guy, because I guarantee that guy knew she was married and didn't care, right? I would say you're a selfish, and I would also say basically, look, you've done your dirty deed, okay? Your husband knows you're sorry, and I'd tell her to leave him alone completely, back away. And if the guy wants to have nothing to do with you, he has every right, okay? And you would, basically hope your lucky stars and pray that he actually is going to try to, even see your kids, okay? But again, this all depends on what state they live in and all that stuff like that. But basically, I'd say, leave the hell alone if he wants to move on and learn a very hard, important lesson, okay? But this guy has every right to do this. I'm blaming the least, okay? And if the guy was talking to me, if the guy was addressing me, I'd tell him, I'd say, dump this, move on, okay? And if you want to eventually get another girl, get someone that obviously, do a big screening process for years before we actually get serious, pay attention, all the red flags, But no, too bad you made your bed, you lied. Lie in it, okay? And again, she is equally responsible. But again, guys, you see here in this story, a perfect example, real life example, about how the emotions and the feelings run everything, okay? It's all about how they feel and the lack of accountability. Again, it was his fault that I'm in the state that I am and what I missed out on. And of course, just again, what happens, people marry too young and don't get any experiences. Like I said, I'm not saying that she's got a hookup, ride the carousel every dude in town, but both parties. It's good to live a little experiences that we don't regret it. And think about all the time what you missed out on all that, okay? Because you had some experiences and then, okay, fine, I'm enjoying things with my family. So, anyhow, guys, just wanted to share you that story with the perspective from her point of view and showing exactly what I talk about in so many videos, and you're seeing it right here from the woman's perspective. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below and let me know what you think about this, and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.